Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm playing Drawback chess, where each player gets a random drawback, like Lame Duck, where you can't move your king, or True Gentleman, where you can never capture a queen. My goal is to win 5 games. Let's get started with game number 1. Alright, game number 1, we get the white pieces. Our drawback is pawn battle. Lose if you have fewer pawns than your opponent. Oh, I think we've got this one before. This is the one where I wasn't sure if my opponent just like sacked a queen for a pawn somehow. Do I instantly lose? I really don't know, but hopefully my opponent's drawback is equally terrible. So I'm not going to risk it. I will take my opponent's pawns if they allow me to. But there's no reason for me to believe that my opponent would play something as crazy as like knight takes d4. I mean, I'm just playing a normal opening. I don't give any symptoms of my drawback, so no reason for my opponents to take that risk. This is largely psychological too. Let's play c3. Sure. I mean, I could play bishop to g3, e5, like after something like queen d7. I mean, I guess that's fine too. And then if my opponent does trade, then I can look for a kingside attack. Okay, cool. So we're in kingside attack mode now. Bishop d3, looking at h7. Knight g5 could bolster that. Okay, but h6 stops that idea immediately. Let's play knight d2. Okay, rook to e8, looking for e5. We're going to stop that with knight to e5. We're going to pre-move that. Oh, I didn't even get to, okay. Take back on e5, threaten the knight. This would be instantly losing if there wasn't just queen takes g4. Because if I played f4, then I drop the pawn on e3, which loses the game. If I don't defend this, then I lose that as well. I guess knight to f3 would have worked, but anyways, the knight was free, so we get pawn to c5. I'm pretty sure I can just take this. Not to mention that helps my drawback because now I'm up a pawn. So even if I lose a different pawn, I can still win this comfortably. Okay, let's try to wrap this up. Rook to h7, sack the bishop, look for queen takes g7, and that is mate. Even if the king tries to run, there's mating ideas. Okay, bishop sack as well. I mean, I'll sack everything here. I just need queen to g7. Check. One more move. Nice. Oh, I forgot this is, I was going to say, and with that we win, but this is a king capture game, which helps out with a lot of the drawbacks. It just makes it more intuitive. Okay, now we win game number 1. Nice. Let's go ahead and pop up the info board. All right, you won. You took your opponent's king. Your opponent's drawback was paranoid. Your king must always be defended. You must be able to recapture if it were captured, or you lose. Yeah, that is a quite annoying one, because in the beginning it's fine. You have your rook standing right next to your king, so it's always quote unquote defended. But then later in the end game, that rook is tied down, or you instantly lose. Anyways, with that, we win game number 1. Let's go to move on to game number 2. All right, game number 2, we get the black pieces this time. Against drawback queen. Our drawback is unlucky. Can't move to half of, oh my goodness, holy, what is that? Can't move to half of the squares, re-randomize every move. Okay, this is horrible. This is a horrible drawback. Oh, that's disgusting. Okay, I have to play this fast, because if I have to put up with that for 70 moves or something insane, there's zero chance that I'm going to win this. This is an incredibly difficult drawback. Let's just play fast and hard, look for a crazy attack, and see if we can wrap this up quickly. And if you want to wrap up your own games quickly, I recommend checking out the sponsor of this video, chessreps.com, which offers easy step-by-step opening lessons. Drill your opening to climb to the top of the leaderboard, or do puzzles that come from real games. Like this puzzle, where I can click back to see how we got to this Jobava London position, before delivering this nasty fork. Puzzles are completely free, so you can keep doing puzzles to increase your opening elo, and then take that practice into a real game, like I did to crush my opponent with the Jobava London. If you want to support the channel and become an opening menace, check out chessreps.com. Now, back to the video. I wouldn't go for something super not concrete like queen to a5, where the queen by herself is trying to mate, because there's like c3, knight d2, queen d2, the king can move. There's too many ideas that are probably possible. But I'm going to assume that our opponent's drawback is equally horrendous. I hope it's not just a rating difference, and for which we've been assigned a harder drawback. So let's hope for the best here. Wow, there's like no opportunity. F5, just go for it. Crazy attacking ideas as quick as we can. Oh, I've walked into this as well. Okay, knight to f6 real quick to block that. I mean, we're also playing bluff, because if our opponent doesn't understand what our drawback is, then there really is no issue. But it's not really worth it to me to try to, quote unquote, keep my composure for like 20 moves, just for my opponent to make a totally normal capture and then realize I can't take back. Wow, this sure is unlucky. Holy smokes. This is so bad. Okay, pawn to c3. I promise I'm trying to look at the bright side here. It's all dim. The whole thing is dim. Okay, d5, start controlling some center squares. Maybe we can set up like a sort of crazy unhinged Dutch defense setup with like knight to e4. This bishop is just no future if I do play e6. So maybe I can play bishop e6, bishop f7 first and put it on this side of the board. Unfortunately, that happens to be one of the squares I can't move to. Not to mention all of the other developing moves are also covered. So I don't even want to play queen b6 because that's the wrong side of the board. I'm not really trying to attack over there. I don't want to overcommit with knight to e4 because if I, for whatever reason, can't recapture, that's pretty much wraps. Let's try b6. Maybe I can develop this way if this is asking for too many different moves. Or even bishop b7. You know what? I'll settle for the imaginary idea that maybe someday it will see the long diagonal. Okay, knight d7 is now available to me, so I will take advantage of that and play it. Okay, opponent gets long castles. Let's play bishop g7. Finally, we get that move as well. And honestly, probably going to put pause on every single idea here and just push pawns. Push pawns, and somehow I need to get to this king like ASAP, as quickly as possible. Not to mention, I've noticed zero inconsistencies with my opponent's play style. At least I haven't. I hope you guys have. But I haven't noticed anything. I just see e4 incoming and then doom. That's pretty much what I'm picking up on at the moment. So let's play b5. Okay, bishop to e5. That's a little bit weird because I'm not sure why you would intentionally trade off a bishop. Let's push a5. Let's keep going because this is a very strong bishop, especially if you intend to open up the position where bishops are stronger. Not sure why you would want to trade it to potentially congest the center of the board where you're trying to break through. Ooh, bishop takes is super strange. Let's take back with the knight, so this bishop has some scope again and defends f5. I mean, I was trying to play recklessly before, and I think I did so successfully, but by hanging pawns, leaving my king in the middle, but now my opponent is playing some weird moves. Okay, I can't do anything about this anyways because I can't take. b4 is impossible. Let's take a chance to castle now that neither of these two squares are highlighted. Drop this pawn. Hopefully that sort of stifles my opponent's attack until they play h4 on the next turn anyways. And now we can play b4. This is a weakness. This is a weakness. I mean, you could pretty much just like highlight my king side and say that's a weakness and then move on with your life. Let's take back. I'm happy that my opponent's playing on our side of the board, meaning we want to attack on the queen side. So I don't want to see any moves on the king side of the board. I want to see moves on the queen side that engage our battle, right? Because that's working towards our idea of pushing through on the queen side. I mean, depending on how desperate things get, I'll sack a knight and a pawn just to open up the long diagonal and look for mating ideas. Okay, we get knight to b3. Does hang this pawn. Can't do anything about it because it's one of the red squares. Can't take this because the bishop can just take back. Can't push c5. All right, let's play rook to e8. I guess e6 is maybe sort of an idea. Develop the bishop. I mean, it's asking for a lot of turns to go right. But it's not the end of the world. Knight c5 is also an idea, but it's decently covered. It's terrible that it reaches so far into our position, but we already can't move to half the board. What is a knight going to do covering 4 extra squares? Okay, we get queen to c2, threaten c6. a2 is now officially hanging. c6 is also hanging, but it opens up a file directly into the king's position. Also, we're up on time, which is quite strange for this channel. We are up on time, so that's a victory in and of itself. Okay, queen takes. Ooh, this opponent is definitely engaging in my attack. Okay, let me unhighlight that. It's a little annoying. Let's go for e6 now. I'm trying to think of how I take advantage of this, but it's so difficult because there's so many squares that are constantly unavailable to me. I mean, I'm probably better off just playing for the flag at this point, even though my opponent gets 2 extra seconds every turn. I say that like I don't also get 2 extra seconds every turn, but you get my point. Okay, pawn takes, and of course, why would I be able to take back? Let's just make a random move. Okay, bishop f5 does defend. Oh, there's like nothing new available to me. Okay, ugly position. King back, king back to g8. Imagine if the opponent just played like check and then I couldn't move any of these squares. That would be insane. Okay, 8 seconds left for the opponent. They better have a great idea here. e7, honestly, great idea. Where is the queen gonna move when I can't move to half the squares on the board anyways? What am I gonna do? Take back? Can't move to that square anyways. Okay, let's take on f5 and then hope we can recapture on d8. In fact, I'll pre-move it. This is probably very hopeful. Oh, we were able to take back. Okay, 5 seconds left for the opponent. Rook to c8 is an idea to win back the queen. 2 seconds, 1 second. Check. Takes. Oh, this is excellent. Wonderful news. Our opponent almost ran out of time, and now they officially flag. Okay, very exciting way to win game number 2. Let's go ahead and pop up the info board. Okay, you won. Your opponent ran out of time. Your opponent's drawback was my kingdom for a horse. If your opponent captures a knight, you lose. Okay. Yes, our drawback was definitely way harder than that because, first of all, our opponent brought their knight to the defense of the king with knight to b3. And second of all, it doesn't justify a whole bunch of the other moves. So definitely was a rating discrepancy issue, but we actually managed to pull through. Let's go ahead and move on to game number 3. All right, game number 3, we get the white pieces. It's also a 5-minute game, +5 as well, so this could definitely be a longer one. And our drawback is Flatterer. If your opponent moves a pawn, you must remove a pawn. If your opponent moves a non-pawn piece, you must move a non-pawn piece. Okay, I don't think that's too difficult to do when you play such a symmetrical opening, so should be totally fine. What? What is A5? So my opponent has moved a pawn, so I will move a pawn. How interesting. My opponent insists on moving a pawn. Maybe pick a different piece, mister. I need to develop. I just said this wouldn't be a problem. You have to prove my point for me. Okay, we're not playing in London. Come on. Forfeiting the center, I definitely have to try to control it. I mean, this is free as well. Let's see what we can do about this. Okay, G6 means I also need to move a pawn. Why not? Let's just go F4. It's like a 4 pawns that just didn't quite happen. Okay, my opponent moves another pawn. Oh, this is quite nasty. Okay, do I overcommit? I probably shouldn't. Let's try H4, see what happens. Why not? Let's just match our opponent's freak. Okay, we get a non-pawn move. So now I can also move a non-pawn piece. Okay, another non-pawn move. This is an idea if I play bishop to E3. I'll play this first and defend the pawn. Oops, bad arrow. This whole drawback could be summed up with match your opponent's freak. So here we are doing exactly that. I just need my opponent to castle kingside. So we have concrete attacking ideas and not just unnecessarily overextended pawns, basically. Okay, pawn to D6. So I also must make a... Man, maybe I should have saved a couple of pawn moves. Had some in the chamber, but I don't. Oosh. Okay, E5, I guess? Takes, I can take back with another pawn. It's not the most amazing thing I've seen, but it forces a non-pawn piece move, which means I can do that as well. Let's, if knight to D2, knight to E3, queen here, defends everything, so it's actually fine. It's just an ugly-ish position. You know what? I was just thinking, I'm genuinely curious what my opponent's drawback is, and I wonder if they also have the garden drawback and it's these two. Because this is, I mean, I'm sorry, this is ridiculous. This is like crazy overextension. I really wonder, okay, my opponent made a non-pawn piece move. I probably should get my king out of danger in case F6 ever does erupt. Genuinely curious though. It could be a secret garden thing, or it could just be a crazy opening that they just totally decided to pull out of a dark place. Let's castle. Let's play it safe. My opponent moves a pawn. I can also move a pawn. Ditto, ditto. But I'm curious. I'm curious. Maybe like knight to E4, knight C5. It's gonna be so embarrassing if I pull up the drawback after and it's like something completely unrelated, like capturing on every 5th move or something crazy like that. Anyways, we get pawn to F6. Opponent moved a pawn. I must move a pawn. The natural move is to take with the pawn. If my opponent takes back with a pawn, out of luck. No idea what I should play in that case. I guess G3. Try to play it nice and quick. Play off the fact that we have blundered this. Okay, we get rook to E3, reinforcing that idea. Let's play knight to E4, covers E3, blocks the rook. Maybe we're actually moving towards the secret garden. Let's not hedge too much on that though. There's no need to bet on a totally random idea when there's literally hundreds of drawbacks. Okay, pawn to F5, boots the knight. Oh, but it moves a pawn. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's such a natural move as well. I probably should have seen that. H5, all part of my attacking plan. Of course, this is... yeah, this is part of my attacking plan. And if my opponent takes back, I have to move another pawn. That's so bad. Shouldn't be too bad. Isn't that what I said at the beginning? This shouldn't be too bad. This is awful. This couldn't be any worse. Oh my goodness. Okay. Wait, why is my opponent taking back? I've been sitting here thinking for a little bit while I complain about my situation. I was here complaining and they should have been here taking back, but they haven't. How amusing. They did take back. Now I have to move a pawn. Let's try that on for size. They did a lot of thinking. I don't know. I'm just curious now what the issue might be. The other issue is if my opponent has a bunch of pawns and I don't, then I'm not going to be able to move a pawn if they move a pawn. So it'll be pretty much game over at that point. So I have to play hyper aggressive now. Wow, my opponent's really thinking here. Ooh, and they take the knight, which does mean they move a pawn, but also means I can take on D5. This would be the worst take back. That is really interesting. I have to move my king pretty much. Let's move the king to H1. And pretty much my idea here is, oh, king G7. That's actually going for mate. Why is my opponent going for mate and not just taking free material? That's so interesting. Okay, let's take here with the idea that if check, I just move my king out of the way and it's a non-pawn piece, so I can also move a non-pawn piece. Non-pawn piece, non-pawn piece. Say that 10 times fast. Not to mention this is basically mate since the bishop covers H6 and the rook would be occupying H8. So I'd be taking the king on the next turn unless my opponent figures out somehow that they can just move a bunch of pawns. So king G2, pretty much forced. Probably queen to f6 here is the best defensive idea. Oh, bishop to h3. Holy smokes, I didn't see that. Oh, wow, that's pretty bad. Ooh, can I move anywhere? I can move to these 2 squares. Bishop takes, and then what, resign? All right, let's just see what happens. Queen to f7 check. Does this lose us the game? Opponent is thinking. Wait, hold on. Opponent is thinking. There's something is wrong here. I think they've realized that this is mate, and maybe they couldn't take my king, and they moved their king, so I take. That's so good. Oh my god. That was so under the table. Just, oh my goodness. We did with that win game number 3. Let's go ahead and see what on earth was going on the info board. Okay, you won somehow. I have no idea. Your opponent's drawback was Eye of Sauron. As long as you have a rook, your non-pawn pieces can't move to a rank more advanced than the farthest square your rooks can see. Wow. Oh, so that's why they were trying to bait me to move onto the H file, so that the bishop could move out of the way, and then the rook, which is pretty much the one that leads the way, can just go and take the king. But since I just ignored the bishop couldn't move further than the rook can see, and the rook can only see up to where the bishop is defended. So yeah, that was wraps. Oh my god, that was absolutely amazing. Okay, we win game number 3 somehow. Let's go to move on to game number 4. All right, game number 4, we get the black pieces once more. Our drawback is Warlord. At the start of move 12 and onwards, your king must not be on the first 2 ranks or you lose. Oh my goodness. Okay, first 2 ranks for us, meaning H7, or not H7, rank 7 and rank 8. So we need to be in rank 6 and above. Okay, auto abort. Don't auto abort me. I'm trying my best. It's just you've given me a terrible hand, basically. You've dealt me an awful hand. Okay, pretty much the only way I see this happening is like the king crawls to c6 and somehow we hold down the fort on the queen side. Okay, why queen to f3? That is so aggressive. Okay, we have 10 turns left, and this is already blocked off because of the queen. Let's try knight to f6. I'm assuming our opponent is either a very low-rated player or somebody who's not particularly good at drawback chess to have given me basically such a terrible drawback. Okay, 7 turns left. 1, 2, 3. So we're still erring on the side of caution here. It's not terrible. Okay, let's just go for it. It's gonna have to happen at some point. We'll like try to hedge for b5, maybe a6 somehow, and then try to just hold down the fort at that point. But we have to have it set up first. So like bishop d7, stuff like that has to be in place before we can do any of this. Okay, 5 turns left. Okay, this is starting to give me a little bit of regret. I feel like maybe I should have gone straight for the king with some crazy idea like this, and basically challenged my opponent to prove that their drawback is better than mine, or rather, my drawback is that much worse than theirs. But we'll see. We do get castles. Okay, not a good sign. Let's play king to c7. We have 4 turns left, and we only have 2 moves that we really need to play. Actually, 3. We need to defend the knight. Ooh, queen sacrifice. Thank you very much. Do take those. Okay, this is excellent. I think we've survived just long enough to maybe make this worth it. Okay, pawn comes forward. a6, that's 2 turns left. If takes, it's 1 turn left. I mean, it's cutting it close. There's ideas of like knight to a4. Let's just play king b6 right now. If the knight does give check, king to a5, threaten the knight. Let's go ahead and take back. For some reason, our opponent gave away a queen. So there has to be something good going on here. In the perfect world, oh, beautiful. I was gonna say in the perfect world, I get a5, then I can shuffle my king back and forth right here. Okay, rook to d1 threatens the queen. I have no interest in losing the queen, so queen c7? Queen c7 seems to do the deed just fine, gets the queen out of danger, and that's about all that it does, but that's what we needed, so it's done. Okay, pawn to b3 doesn't seem to set up any attack. Maybe develop the bishop here to target c5. Okay, let's play bishop g4. I think if we start looking for trades, we're in a good spot because we're up a queen and our king needs to be basically intentionally exposed. So if you're up material, you want to trade pieces. If your king is exposed and getting attacked, you also want to trade pieces. So we have 2 very, very compelling reasons to just hunt trades basically across the board. Okay, there's this idea now, which is a little bit disconcerting, but our opponent does take back, so we've distracted that piece pretty effectively. Let's play e6, develop, connect the rooks, and I think we'll be fine here. Okay, this is still on the board. If check and I move out of the way, takes, I take back. Trade, I mean, I'm more than happy to entertain a trade. In fact, let's offer another one in case you don't like this trading idea, you can go for this trading idea. It's a buffet. Pick what you like best. I think I'm totally winning here no matter what happens, not to mention I'm even up on time. I mean, the fact that I'm up on time for me is a huge indicator that I must be doing something right. We get c4 booting the knight. We'll just play it to b4, cutting off the bishop, but offering another trade no less. Knight c3 there would have been sweet if it wasn't defended by this knight. Okay, rook to d2 looks to double. If If I play bishop e7 and my opponent doubles, then just rook to d8. And I haven't actually forfeit control of the d file because this square is very well defended. Sure. Now let's trade. Let's trade everybody. In fact, it's inescapable. It's kind of like a skewer if you think about it. That's how important these trades are to me. It's like a skewer. It's worth thinking of it like a tactic. Ooh, bishop sacrifice. Okay, what's the idea here? If I take, opponent takes, I take back, still looking for trades, takes, knight take. I mean, there can't possibly be anything wrong with that. My king is staying on the 6th rank and above, and I'm not losing any material, so looks good. We've pretty much stuffed this attack completely, so yeah, we're fine here. Not to mention, if my opponent doesn't move that rook, I'm taking it for mate. Just kind of while we play this out, I feel like it's worth noting that for drawback chess specifically, I've picked up on the fact that if your opponent makes a weird move, you really need to try to punish it as quickly as possible. And what I mean by that is if you see your opponent like walking up with their king in such a weird way, like go for the attack by all means, try to go for that attack. I mean, maybe that's what our opponent was trying to do with queen takes c6, and maybe working with their drawback at the same time, but it was a little too aggressive. I mean, just straight up lost a queen. Oh, actually, maybe that was their drawback. Maybe their drawback was you have to like lose a queen by like move, what move was that anyways? We'll look at it after. Let's try to wrap up this game first. We'll go ahead and take. That's my bet, though, that my opponent had to lose their queen. Okay, with that, we lose. With that, we win game number 4. I was thinking about my opponent losing their queen, so a little mess up there. But with that, we win game number 4. Let's go ahead and pop up the info board. All right, you won. Your opponent ran out of time. Your opponent's drawback was Botez Gambit. I guessed it. I hit it right on the nose. Botez Gambit, at the start of turn 11, you must not have a queen, and your opponent must have their queen. Wow, that is... My drawback is harder than that? I don't know. If you have to lose your queen, but your opponent's drawback is only bad if you still have your queen on the board to look for mate, I don't know. It feels like maybe their drawback was a little harder than mine, but with that, we win game number 4. Let's go to move on to game number 5. All right, game number 5, we get the black pieces again. Wow, lucky me. Our drawback is forward march. Can't move backwards. Oof, that is nasty. Oh, it's the same opponent. So opponent, if you can hear me, I would like another queen. Thank you. Okay, we've filed our request now. We get pawn to g3. Let's just play something passive. Something concrete. If I can never move backwards, then I really don't have a lot of incentive to do a lot of early moving forward. Oh wait, our opponent's... can we play symmetrical? Can we play copycat? Did you see that abomination? I missed 2 of those. We get queen to b3, targets this. I'm just gonna focus on castling. If you think about it, I'm being quite generous. I'm letting my opponent's drawback shine through while I just play a passive, relatively normal game of chess. We'll play knight d7. Again, no real incentive to play aggressive if I can never move backwards. I need to see like a very concrete weakness in my opponent's position before I'm willing to overcommit. Okay, my opponent's giving us the opportunity to play symmetrical again. Sure, why not? I'll take back. Okay, queen moves backwards, which is highly amusing considering I cannot move backwards. Let's go e5. I know I said I wasn't going to move forward too much, but if I can create some vague threat on the king side, maybe my opponent will start looking for trades. Like right away we get a pawn trade. Maybe d5 next, establish our pawn structure. I mean, pawns can never move back anyway, so I might as well establish a concrete pawn structure and then play based around that. Okay, knight to f3. Let's play rook to e8. Ideas of maybe knight to e5, maybe develop the bishop. c5 here is amusing. Okay, rook to e1. If I cement the knight here and we get like knight d2 f3, then I'd have to trade it off, which I guess is fine. Man, I'm really going back on my word about saying I'm not going to play aggressive. Every single move I've played since the queen has been stuck here has basically been looking for some sort of aggressive idea. It's just way more natural. Okay, bishop to e3. Let's shuffle the queen over. I don't want to overcommit her and then definitely lose her, you know, if we don't get a queen trade. But I can't leave her on the same diagonal as the bishop where there's almost certainly a discovered attack idea. Pawn to a3, let's continue developing. Maybe knight g4 to boot the bishop, but then we could leave the knight stranded, which isn't great. Okay, rook to d1. c5 is still super tempting, pushing the opponent's pieces back, but I'm afraid of the weakness that I create on d5. Let's play bishop d7. I feel like I've been a little too greedy. I haven't let my opponent's drawback shine through quite as I would like. So let's let them do a little bit more shining. Not to mention this opponent we know for a fact is predisposed to running down their clock, so we'll play based off that a little bit as well. We get bishop to f4. I mean, I guess we'll defend c7. There's no real idea there, but I have, again, not a lot of incentive to move straight ahead. Queen back to c1. Okay, maybe looking for this trade. I don't think that's an issue. If my opponent trades, I just take back, and then there's no way to follow through on that. So, I don't know, queen b6. Maybe pretend like we're going to take this pawn. I wouldn't even dare touch that pawn. It's so far away from my position. But my opponent doesn't know that, so maybe we can give the illusion, right, that we're actually trying to do something. Okay, pawn to b4. a5 is interesting, trying to create some weaknesses. Let's give it a try. Let's just complicate the position. Opponent won't know what to do, and then maybe we can somehow pull away with the victory. I'd really like to get a queen trade, something like this, so I don't have to worry about how awfully I've overcommitted my queen. Okay, knight to d2 does allow this trade. f3 I can still take, but I don't want to wait for my opponent to reroute it and then lose this opportunity. So let's take right away. Not to mention my opponent could take here and force my queen to have to stay on the 5th rank and onwards. So no matter how my opponent retakes, I'm going to take on b4 to get rid of that idea. And then pretty much however my opponent recaptures, this is probably more concrete, so there's no weakness on a3. I'm going to go for rook to a8 to try to take over this open file. Opponent down to a minute now, which is pretty good for us. Of course, I have no real intent of playing on the open file, like playing rook to a3 or anything like that. I'm just keeping the tension to give my opponent something to think about. Okay, now what? I don't want to make it obscenely obvious that I'm waiting around, but why don't we offer this trade? I mean, we can get some minor pieces off the board. Pawns can never go backwards anyway, so I might as well play with those. Maybe grab some center space. It's mildly amusing, I mean. Okay, bishop to e3. Ooh, bishop to e3. Lines up the discovered attack once more. And obviously my queen can't move backwards. So pretty much our only option here is c5. Let's give that a try. Okay, knight takes. I should probably take with the queen. So my opponent can take this. Yeah, it looks fine. Okay, bishop takes. See, now I kind of wish I did have some attacking ideas. Let's play knight to e4. Maybe we can incite this trade of the bishop on the long diagonal, staring at two weaknesses for a knight, nice, that previously didn't have a life. We've now rejoined this pawn with its pawn island, grabbed a little more space. We've unleashed the bishop that was previously hindered by the knight. I mean, positionally, we're doing okay. It's not terribly difficult for me to find ways to make very, very minor positional improvements like those. But man, the drawback, I just can never move backwards. Come heck or high water, I can never move backwards. Get rook to d1, probably looking for some sort of crazy d8 idea. So let's play bishop to f8, so we have an escape square. Still have two weaknesses, no matter how you slice and dice it. We get pawn to e3. Rook to a2 is such an overcommitment, but it does give us some attacking ideas. So why not? Let's go for it. Rook to a2, defended by the queen. 15 seconds for our opponent. Again, we just need to kind of stack on pressure. If I can get my opponent to crumble under time pressure, then that's pretty much game at that point. Okay, queen to d6. Ooh, threatens mate as well. Ugh. So there's no attacking ideas anymore. I guess we take on c3. If check, here, check, king to f6. The king can never move back, which will probably be our doom. Yep. And then check, king here, check. Would be mate actually, but our opponent goes for the pawn instead. Lucky for us. Okay. Let's oh, I can't move back. Oof. Wow, this is actually terrible. Wow, this is awful. Okay, king to e6, I guess. Shuffle around. Buy time. No idea what to do here. 8 seconds left for our opponent. We basically have to play for flag. There's no other choice. We'll go ahead and pretend like we're stopping this, although we can never actually move back. Let's go for this idea. Bishop can never retreat either, but it wasn't going to do anything past here that was of interest anyways. Bishop to c5. Might as well take with check and then pre-move back to b2. Ooh, maybe there's mating ideas here. Hold on a minute. Rook to a2. Okay, yeah, that's pretty fair. That stops this dead in its tracks. Let's try this. Oh, I can't move back, of course. Yeah, this is just awful. h4, why not? Go for it. See what happens. Okay, we take. There is taking on h2. Okay, our opponent takes back though. g5. At least try. At least pretend like we're doing our best. Queen promotes. Check. Pre-move this check as well. Okay, yeah, this is pretty much hopeless. Can never move this bishop again. Yikes, this is pretty bad. Not to mention I can never move backwards, so the odds that mate here is in like a move or two is pretty high. Yep, forced and then gone. Oh, yeah, why not rope it in by taking the rook? I actually can't move anything here, so king c1. Rook to c8. Excuse me? What's happening here? Queen c2. Can you only take with your queen? What? Okay, I'm going to keep moving back and forth because something is wrong here. Something is brutally wrong. Unless my opponent is just buying time to taunt me. Okay, my opponent was just buying time to taunt me. Okay, with that, we lose game number 5. Let's pop up the info board. Okay, our drawback was absolution. When one of your non-bishop pieces captures, it must seek absolution. Oh, yeah, that's a pretty easy one. I'm not going to lie. Ours was apparently kind of easy too. not moving backwards is kind of easy. Oof. I don't know about that one. All right, anyways, let's go to move on to game number 6. All right, game number 6, we get the black pieces. Our drawback is leveling up. You can't capture a piece until you've captured its predecessor in the list. And the list, oh, we've gotten this before. Yeah, the list is basically by point value. So we have to start by taking a pawn, and then we have to take a knight, a bishop, a rook, a queen, and a king. Okay, D3 seems to basically set up the pawn trade that we want. Let's play something to allow it, like pawn to C6. Okay, we trade, and then we'll just block off the queen trade since we actually can't take that back yet. Knight to F3, E6. Maybe we can do it with a pin of some kind. So like knight C3, bishop E4 would allow that pretty easy peasy. Nice. Take that. And then we need to capture a bishop, which will be a little bit trickier. Maybe something like this to force a trade. Let's go ahead and take. Knight to F6. Now we can castle. Okay, bishop D3. It would be amazing if my opponent just did it for us, but ooh, king to E2. Very suspicious. Okay, this is also very promising. Let's play B6. Maybe bishop here, line this up, maybe A5. Whoa. Oh, I know what this drawback is. 100%. It has to be the, and it's move 11. That makes perfect sense. Where in like a first couple of something moves, you have to have your king pass those squares. So basically, if I play check here, is that game over for my opponent? King to D4. Okay, our opponent's going to try to force the issue. Okay, how do we stop this? Check. Yeah, that seems like it'll do it. Check here. Nowhere for the king to move. We cover that square with the knight. And that should be pretty much game right there. Nice. And with that, we win game number 6, which is our 5th victory. Let's go ahead and pop up the info board. Okay, you won. We already knew what our opponent's drawback was. I mean, we got it in this very video. Warlord, at the start of move 12 and onwards, your king must not be on the first 2 ranks or you lose. And with that, we win all 5 games. If you guys did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Let me know down below what you guys think of these drawbacks. I actually did predict at least one of these drawbacks in this video, so I'm very, very happy with that. And I will see you guys in the next one.